23 points to 12. The Springboks victorious over England after their win in Johannesburg in the first test, and the series won 2-0 with a game to play in Cape Town next week. Let's go down to the post-match presentation with Owen and Kumani.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew Pierce. That is correct. The series is won. South Africa 2-0 up with the test match to come in Cape Town, but all done and dusted right here in Bloemfontein. Our Castle man of the match is Dwayne Vermeulen, the Springbok 8th man. Dwayne Vermeulen is our man of the match. There he is, he comes up, and Mr. Fense Mbele, sponsorship manager of our sponsors, will present him with his gold coin. Doing another outstanding performance. Feeling good?
I'm tired. Altitude got me a little bit, but yeah, we're very happy with the performance. The boys dug deep in this last part of the game, and yeah, to finish on a high is an excellent achievement.
It was brilliant. I mean, the city Bloemfontein, you started your rugby here. The people came out to support the Springboks. A message for the people of Bloem?
Yeah, it's actually my first test here, so yeah, it's happy. I'm very happy to be back. Thanks for everyone who came out and came to support the guys. It's just listen to that. Yeah, I'm just going to say this in Afrikaans. Dankie vir die support, man. Dit is ongelooflik.
Good job, well done, and good luck next week going forward in the green and gold. It's a pleasure watching you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dwayne. Owen Farrell, losing captain of England. Owen, you must be gutted. Both test matches, brilliant start, just couldn't hold on.
No, we lost momentum in that second half of the first half again. We'll have to make sure we look back at it and see where we went wrong, but there was some big moments in that game where we weren't composed enough, and we'll have to learn from it.
Learning from that, the big one is 2019 Rugby World Cup. Lessons learned from the South African tour.
Oh, look, we want to learn our lessons now. I know 2019's a part of the big picture, but we want to learn our lessons now. We want to start winning now, and we're going to have to regroup for next week.
All the best next week.
Thank you.
Cheers, Owen. Winning captain on his birthday, Siya Kolisi. The people of South Africa, once again, are just congratulating a great performance from the Springboks. Feeling good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was really tough, yeah. But we knew what we were coming on to. The coach said a lot of things to us. I think the best way to put it in Xhosa is tunyi when I'm challenged. Yeah, it was really tough today, but we knew what we had to do. And you know, the most important thing is the people. Thank you so much for coming out. People of Bloemfontein, they've welcomed us. It's been really amazing week for us.
The rugby supporters want to know, what is it with the bad start?
I don't know, you know. And you know, the coach always tells us all he wants is intensity, you know. We can't control what we do, like what happens in the field, as long as we have intensity, you know, that we can control. But, you know, the most important thing is the character of the boys, you know. We keep on fighting from the dark holes. And, you know, the guys like Dwayne, you know, who keep us calm, you know. He's a great leader, you know. He's backing me all the way, which is the most important thing.
A job well done, and good luck going forward next weekend in Cape Town.
Thank you, sir. Sure, Buddha.
Cheers, Buddha. Now, a special moment in South African history. I'd like to call upon the president of SA Rugby, Mark Alexander. Today we celebrate a great human, a great servant to South African rugby. Tendai Mtawarira, please come forward into the stage and receive your 100th cap for South Africa. And there's your gold cap in celebration, your contribution on and off the pitch in South African rugby. Tendai Mtawarira becomes the 6th Springbok to reach 100 test matches, and with that he becomes the 8th prop in world rugby to reach over 100 test matches. Tendai, an outstanding career. What were some of the highlights?
No, geez, where can I start? You know, I'm really overwhelmed tonight, and just grateful. You know, just thanks to my teammates for backing me today. And the guys, we're really pitched up today and for giving us a wonderful victory. And obviously to my family being here, it's wonderful. My kids sharing this moment with me is really special. And to the whole of South Africa, thank you for supporting me for all over these years. I really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. And it's just a real feeling right now. Can't believe it.
Tendai, many years ago at the Sharks, do you remember your first scrum?
Jeez, now I remember. No, it's been an incredible journey. It's been a lot of amazing people that have come alongside me and supported me. So I'm just, just grateful to them, and thank you so much for believing in me and working hard on me. There's certain guys, obviously, if I start mentioning, there's a lot of names, but they know who they are. Thank you so much for the input that you gave me in my career.
Tendai, you talk about people next to you. Your daughters, your son is right here. Daddy playing for South Africa. Are you proud?
I'm happy.
You're a happy family and a happy father. Tendai, South Africa really applauds you. Great contribution. All the best. Hopefully we'll see you another 50 or so test matches for South Africa.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Well, what a moment for Tendai Mtawarira, and 100 test match caps for him. Very proud prop, and an incredible story considering his place of birth in Zimbabwe, and he'll be immensely proud, as will the rest of his South African teammates. They'll be proud of that performance as well. Wonderful barnstorming run for him, but if we take a look at that match, 4 tries in all. There were a couple of handling errors at crucial times that cost the English, which they'll be, I think, very unhappy about. We spoke, Jeremy, about the errors, the mistakes that crept into the game last weekend. Those errors, unfortunately, at very crucial times when they were building up, it seemed, ahead of steam, a bit of momentum, and wanting to close the gap or take the lead.
Yeah, it's difficult to really be on England's side at the moment, because they made the same errors as they did last week, and it's disappointing because these are decent players, good players, but doing the same basic individual errors. It's their responsibility. They're professionals, they've got good skills. It's just to me, the mental strength is really lacking there. And Eddie Jones has got some answers, questions to answer even. And he should feel the pressure. I mean, he's selecting this side. He made the decisions to stay at sea level, and it hasn't quite worked out for them. And what must be really annoying is you're making the same mistakes. Sort them out.
You certainly will feel that pressure starting to mount, will Eddie Jones. That lost record is starting to build up and extend. For the Springbok coach, you could see Rassie Erasmus seemingly suffering a lot of pressure and strain in that first half. But at the end of it, the Springboks jumping up to 3rd in the world rankings. It's courtesy of that win by Ireland a little bit earlier. You speak about, and as they come behind us, the Springboks, a rousing round of applause by the fans in Bloemfontein, who have welcomed them very warmly. I can tell you, on the side of the field, it is immensely cold, but the hearts of the Bloemfontein locals have the box. But to Jean de Villiers we go, who is somewhere on the side of the field with Jean.
Thanks very much, XM. Last week we did the captain's report, John. I think tonight is probably more relevant to do a leadership report. So when I look at the way those two teams played, England looked devoid of leadership today. Owen Farrell all over the show, jumping into the contact situations, trying to get involved. South Africa, cool, calm and collected. Firstly, let's start with England. What did you make of Farrell and the other players who should be putting their hands up?
Yeah, it was niggly. It was a very niggly game. I thought a lot of off-the-ball stuff, even stuff that you couldn't see on camera, which was disappointing. And I thought, once Owen Farrell sort of got involved in the heated confrontations. You know, that's not what a captain should be doing. So probably you can't just look at him. You need to look at the whole leadership group and what sort of support he was getting in terms of that. And I don't know if there was any. You know, so, and flip it to South Africa, and that's probably where Sia had a guy like Dwayne Vermeulen, who not only had a brilliant game, but also from a leadership point of view, really helped Sia so much. Add to that 100 Pollard, add to that a beast and a Willie Leroux, who brings so much experience to that team. It just seems as if they've got that group right at the moment.
And while we're on that, let's chat about the extension of leadership from the coaching staff. You know, we don't hear the England players talking about Eddie Jones and his influence. We hear the South African players talking about Rassie Erasmus already and what he's saying and what he's doing and the influence he's having. There's obviously a strain of leadership that's running through that South African camp.
Which is fantastic. You know, we've always said that Rassie Erasmus is so meticulous in his planning and that he will make sure that everything is in place. And we can see that all the decisions that has been made, you can see there's a plan. And don't underestimate the value of the rest of his group. Jacques Nienaber, the defensive coach, yes, there's been a couple of lapses in concentration in terms of the defense, but that's individual mistakes that have been made. That's not the structure, and it'll probably take 6, 7, 8 games for this team to understand the new defensive structure. But that leadership group, the management group, they're a strong group. Add to that the sort of the relationship that they had with a player leadership group, and I think it's looking good at the moment.
Yeah, very much so. And obviously when you get 12 points ahead today, 24 points ahead like England were last week, a team like New Zealand would not allow the opposition to come back like that. The leadership would be there standing strong. And on the other side of it, it's very hard to come back unless you have sensational leadership, which the South Africans are showing at the moment, Paula.
Well, very interesting to hear you gentlemen talk about leadership, and it is a fairly contentious issue, is the issue of leadership. Jeremy, your take, if you take a look at that England team and so far as leadership goes?
I'd love someone to describe leadership to me, what it means, because for me, you have the captain, then you probably have a vice-captain or two, and then you're looking towards seasoned players performing as well as they can. And what England have had, what they had during the Six Nations and has continued on this tour of South Africa, is their best players really not reaching anywhere near capacity. You've got Maro Itoje, world beater. Someone talked about him about being World Player of the Year. Where's he been for 12 months? Joe Launchbury came on, tried his best, but he was on his own. We found out Brad Shields maybe not the international player that Eddie Jones might have thought he was. Ben Young's been so quiet on this tour, where he was really hardly, he was very badly missed in the Six Nations. Mike Brown storming first test, average second test. Daly for me is still the most skillful player in that team. I would love to see big changes for Cape Town. Give these guys that have been sat on the bench, being frustrated, give them the opportunity to play. Danny Cipriani, 14 minutes, that's not enough. George Ford lost the ball in that just outside his 22. He had no idea that's supposedly one of the leaders. He's not playing well enough. Teach him a lesson. Teach all these guys a lesson. The ones that haven't been playing well enough, there's a squad of 150, it seems, that have come over here. Give some guys a go.
I'm pretty sure there will be wholesale changes, but I know from the Springbok point of view, but given what Jeremy said, perhaps we can expect that from England as well. But let's not focus on the seniors for a moment. Let's cut across to some of the youngsters, and Spusiso Nkosi has set the world ablaze. I know that Montidi Simohono managed to catch up with him.
Well, I'm joined by one of the men of the moment, Sbu Nkosi. How do you sum up that performance today?
Yeah, we were a little slow off the blocks again. I think once we did get our momentum, the game swung our way. Our forwards managed to tire their forwards, and that kept us on the front foot.
It was another game where you started off very, very slowly. England able to pile on the pressure and the points as well. How do you fix that going into Cape Town?
I'm not very sure. I'll have to leave that to our coaching staff and for us to make a bit of effort in the beginning of the game. I don't know what it is that makes us start slowly, but I must say that when the boys do wake up, the vibe is amazing on the field.
And what does it mean to you to win your very first Test series with the Springboks?
Obviously, it means a lot. It's a dream for a young South African boy, and I'm honoured and privileged to be a part of this amazing group of players.
Sbu Nkosi siyabonga. Enjoy this moment.
Thank you very much.
And Sbu Nkosi, one of the guys that has been an absolute integral part of the Springbok team as they take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series.
He's an incredibly talented youngster. We know all about his pace. Jean de Villiers, he's incredibly tough as well for a young man, and I think that's the kind of winger that South Africa has been searching for a couple of seasons. We've always had pacemen out wide who we know have got plenty of speed to burn, but it's the combination of the physical aspect as well, and defensively he's still going to grow.
Yeah, you know, we're looking at his highlight package there at the moment, and there's no doubt about his pace, his ability to step off both feet, but he's very strong as well. You know, he's a big guy, mid-90s, difficult to bring down, and he's strong in contact, you know, so he's got very strong legs, strong core, so a guy like that is difficult to bring down when he's got ball in hand. So, you know, when you've got a guy like that on the wing that can give you momentum, that can sort of hold his own and make sure that you retain possession, that is crucial for South Africa. And defensively, he doesn't slack off in terms of making his tackles, and he's got a high work rate. So, you know, as a start for the series, I think fantastic from these two wingers.
To see the capacity of his learning abilities, when he came in, and we saw one of his tackles there on Mike Brown. Before, he's been left stranded out, hasn't he? Both wingers have been looked a lot inexperienced, but as they're growing, as they're getting minutes in the game, they're understanding, they're getting that cohesion, and I hope Rassie keeps that. I think if you're thinking about the World Cup, which isn't too far away, it was really important to keep your units together. So I would, even being English, say keep that back three together for the last game.
Yeah, and as Rassie said last week as well, you know, yes, they might make mistakes on defence, and you know, but that comes with experience as well. And the fact that they are scoring tries, and at least they're trying things, I think that's a massive bonus for this coaching group. But again, Willie Leroux, I think, is so important as well, to have a bit of experience at 15 to help the two youngsters, and then you still bring through a guy like a Warwick Gelant, a Makazolo Mapimpi, and suddenly our talent in terms of the back three looks pretty strong.
Certainly is, and we saw shots there of Dwayne Vermeulen, who got the Man of the Match award, but for one of the senior partners in the team, a lot of people will say he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. He did not show that. He was incredibly physical. He made a wonderful break pretty much towards where we're standing. He really seems to have a lot of zip for somebody who some would have said is towards the end of his career.
Well, not on that performance, not on the last two performances we've seen him for the Boks. In contrast, Billy Vunipola, Nathan Hughes, when he's come on, have not had anywhere near the impact in the way that Dwayne has, and it's disappointing because these guys are young. Billy's like 23, 24. Yeah. Nathan's the same age, but they've got no energy, no understanding really of how to make that impact, how to lead England in a way that is about performance. And we've got to move away from this word leadership, because for me it's non-existent. I know you're being a captain, Jean, but it's how well you play on the day, and how well you can, by doing that, you inspire the team, your teammates around you. You're not called a leader off the field and bring that onto the field. It's how you perform. And England haven't been doing it like we've been seeing South Africa, and in particular a player like Dwayne Vermeulen.
If I can just make one more comment about Dwayne as well, and the argument, you know, his age versus the way he's playing. There's only one way you get judged, and like you were saying with the leadership as well, that's the way you perform on the pitch. It doesn't matter how old he is or how young Sabun Nkosi and Apiwe Janti is. It's about how they perform on the pitch, and I think right through the Springbok team, I think they've performed well, and we shouldn't be worrying about the age. The guys are performing, and that's important.
Certainly are performing, and one man who'll be very happy with the type of performances that have been put in by the older players amongst his squad, those who have been called back from overseas. The likes of a Dwayne Vermeulen will be none other than Rassie Erasmus.
Rassie, congratulations. The series won, but you must be really pleased with how this relatively young and inexperienced group has responded to pressure early in games.
Yes, I think that's probably the biggest thing we'll take out of this. You know, if things doesn't go your way, sometimes you can give up when you have a young team like this compared to the amount of English caps that was out there. So I think that's a big positive. For sure, there was lots of mistakes. We all know that. But I'm very pleased with the character. I think that's wonderful.
A couple of scrum problems on both sides, really battling to get the scrum set, but when it counted, the scrum came through for you.
Yes, and different guys, and then it was Akker, and then it was Bongi, and then Thomas did well, so there was a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think the vital ones, the guys really stuck together, and to get a penalty try from a scrum was vital. So overall, I thought there were scrums, they had the upper hand and us as well, so maybe a concentration lap, but overall I thought at the crucial times it was good.
Some great performances across the park. Dwayne Vermeulen, the official man of the match. How influential has he been around this group over the first 2 weeks of the series?
Yeah, I must tell you, I thought just experience-wise that Dwayne would bring a lot, and he did experience-wise, but he's playing well as well. He's really contributing on attack, on defense, in the scrums, in the lineouts, in the mauls, and he's running great lines, so he's really playing well, and that's a bonus. Sometimes when you get the older overseas guys back, they just bring experience, but his game is on top form currently.
Given the player group that you've got available to you, does the series win being in the bag mean that you think about some more experimentation, if I can call it that, in the third test in Cape Town?
Yeah, you never want to make a test match cheap, so we won't experience with the sense of, listen, we will just experiment for the sake of it. We'll experiment with the World Cup in mind, with trying a few combinations, but we will take the match very serious, and yes, we will try a few things, but we'll use common sense also. Thanks.
Well, I suppose that answers a lot of questions about what we can expect from Rassie Erasmus going into the third and final test in Cape Town next weekend. But obviously a lot of focus on Dwayne Vermeulen, not only from a rugby playing point of view, but this is his spiritual home, having played so many years for the Toyota Cheetahs. And he'll be incredibly happy with that man of the match performance. And also, as a result of his play, he gets the Land Rover moment, which we'll take a look at shortly. But beyond that, Dwayne, of course, will be available, it seems, having moved from overseas and back in South Africa. And I think a lot of people are looking to welcome him back, to seeing him play perhaps a little bit of Super Rugby in the lead up to next year's World Cup. But I mentioned it a little bit earlier, Dwayne Vermeulen, the winner of the Land Rover moment. Well, that certainly would have qualified as a highlight from a South African point of view, and it's very tough now for England to look at positives, having lost the series in 2 matches. But I've got to ask, are there positives? To my mind, the fast starts that they had in both matches shows that they do have a lot of guile when it comes to game plan. They have a lot of speed out wide. They were able to utilize it in moments last weekend and this week. Moments that you would take as positive, Jeremy, from an England point of view?
No. Not at all. The negatives far outweigh what was good about England in these 160 minutes that we've seen so far. The disappointing aspect is that they can't translate that brilliant start and maintain it. I didn't think I saw the English forwards' legs go at all, like they did in that middle 40 minutes of the 80 minutes in the first test. What I saw today was just a lack of concentration, a lack of execution. England still got in some really good positions, but dropped the ball, got the ball ripped out like they did in the first test. It's disappointing, because as a coach it must be frustrating, because England made the same errors as they did in the first test, whereas for me South Africa got stronger as this game went on. The second half was brilliant. I mean, England didn't score a point, and South Africa looked like they could have scored 2 or 3. They'd be disappointed they didn't do that. And it's interesting to hear Rassie talking about, I don't want to make the third game a bit of a nonsense, a bit of a runaround. I want to keep the momentum. They really, it'd be brilliant if South Africa can win it for them. And equally, England, it's going to be a tough week for them.
What about the cliche? We know that we hear that said all the time, winning is a habit. Is losing becoming a habit?
It's a habit that you just don't want. You work your nuts off to try and flip and get rid of that and come back and come back strong. But I I want to see I want to see at least 5 changes for that game in Cape Town. Yeah. And this man Eddie's is the person who's got to sort it out.
Yeah, well, let's hear from the England coach. He is a man under pressure, and these losses certainly won't help him back at home.
Eddie, you spoke before the game and asked for more discipline. The penalty and missed tackle count must be a concern for you after what you'd asked for.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, it was a bit of a horror movie, wasn't it? You knew what was going to happen. We started the game brilliantly, played exactly how we wanted to, but then we got caught up in situations where we just didn't control the moment. Individuals tried to solve the problem. We give penalties. That turns into more pressure, and the game gets away from us. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
The 2 early tries notwithstanding, there was also some excellent defensive effort against South Africa's set piece down on your own line, which could have had the effect of galvanising you further.
Yeah, well, you know, if you look at the game, there's parts of the game we're very good. We're a bit like a broken car at the moment. We fix one area, then another area gets broken. And I can't just put my finger on it at the moment, but you know, like all of these things, if you stick at it, we'll find a solution. That'll be next week in Cape Town.
Just on that test match, with the series gone, does it give you an opportunity, you think, to try something radically different, or is it about executing the plan that you've got in place better?
Well, I think if you look at the 2 games we've played, we've put ourselves in positions to win the game. But we haven't been able to control the key moments of the game. So whilst we can look at doing different things, I think it's more about getting our game more consistent, because Test match rugby is about consistency. You know, it's about doing the simple things well over and over again. And we're doing the simple things well for 20 minutes. We're a bit like a T20 side at the moment. And what we've got to become is a Test match side.
Jeremy, before I get to your final thoughts, I want to speak to Jean about what it's like or how difficult it is to turn around a run of losses.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because you do go into this sort of spiral of negativity and starting to blame other people as well, where I think it needs to become, you need to be accountable for those results, and you need to be able to find fixes, be solution driven and not get narrow minded, So I think it's been tough. You can hear that Eddie is very frustrated in what's happening, but they need solutions, So it's always been working towards the World Cup. Well, I think for now they should just be focusing on Cape Town and getting a win no matter what.
Jeremy, closer look at Eddie Jones though. We know he came off wonderfully when he started with England, that wonderful run of wins, 23 matches, 21 wins in that little run. Your take on where he finds himself?
I knew he would be frustrated. That's players as well when you go on this losing run. But he sounded lost. Normally as a coach you can pick out areas. The back 3 didn't function. Our line out was poor. Our scrummage wasn't good enough. Our blitz defence or our drift defence. It would appear to me, apart from England have scored tries in the first 20 minutes of games, outside of that, everything looks wrecked. Yeah. Because he wasn't able to stick his finger on what the reason was. And I think we can here. One is a lack of concentration. Is that because they've lost their positivity? Do they feel that being up on the veldt is going to affect them? Were they affected by the crowd? The home crowd was absolutely fantastic today, and I think that affected them. They're not strong mentally enough just to get through that, because as an experienced player you want to silence them and you want to enjoy that moment. You want to, right, let's score a try, let's kick a penalty, let's hush this crowd, but you've got to step up to do it, and no man on that England side was a Dwayne Vermeulen today.
And to add one more thing to the intrigue of the whole SA versus England, they play Newlands next week. The next test match that England plays will be South Africa at Twickenham on the 3rd of November. Yeah. So it makes next weekend's game even more important. The next one they play would be England versus New Zealand. So a lot to play for Eddie and for his team.
Is it too late for England Rugby Union to consider a change, given how close
come on. We're not football. We're not football.
Yeah, I've got to
we're
ask
not Spain.
I've got to ask the question, because you read what comes out of the UK with regards Eddie Jones.
Yeah.
You think they're going to get rid of him yesterday?
Don't always believe what you read in the media.
My goodness.
It's a valid question, because it's where we are with rugby and professional, particularly in the UK. I'm sure we're reading the Sundays as Eddie lost his magic dust. What's happened? 4 or 5 in a row that they've lost. There's no way the RFU are going to let him go. He goes all the way to the World Cup.
Well, certainly going to be an interesting match that the two teams will play out at Newlands next weekend. But as it stands, it's South Africa 2 and England with one last opportunity to salvage some pride in this 3-test series. From us in Bloemfontein, it certainly was a cold day, but this crowd warmed the hearts of the Springboks as they did. Birthday boy Siya Kolisi, the Springbok captain, and Centurion Tendai the Beast Mtawarira. So thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Bye.